The Ferrari dealership in Newport Beach had floor-to-ceiling windows that made every car look like a museum piece. My nephew Tyler stood in front of a red 488 Spider, taking selfies with the salesman while I sat on a leather bench near the entrance, pretending to scroll through my phone. "Uncle Marcus is buying all three for me," Tyler announced loudly to another customer who'd been admiring the same car. "Early inheritance. He knows I deserve it after everything I've done for the family business." I wasn't Uncle Marcus. I was Aunt Diane's younger brother, which made me Tyler's uncle by marriage only, and I'd never promised him anything, let alone 3 Ferraris totaling over $800,000. But Tyler had been telling that story for weeks now, ever since he'd somehow convinced a buyer to put down earnest money on my beachfront lot in Malibu, the lot I'd owned for 12 years, the lot that was protected in a land trust specifically to prevent situations like this. "Mr. Chen," the salesman called out, walking over to me with a tablet. "Your nephew says you'll be guaranteeing the purchase. I just need your signature on the financial commitment form." I looked up at him calmly. "I'm not guaranteeing anything. I'm just here to watch." The salesman's smile faltered. "I'm sorry. Tyler invited me to see the cars he's ordering. I came out of curiosity. I'm not involved in the purchase." Tyler's head snapped around. "What are you talking about? You said I said I'd come look at the cars. That's what I'm doing." I stood up. "But I'm not signing anything, and I'm not paying for anything." The salesman looked between us, confused. "Mr. Wade, you said your uncle was funding this purchase through a property sale." "He is," Tyler insisted. "The Malibu lot. The sale closes next week. The money's as good as in the bank. Except I'm not selling any property," I said. Tyler's face flushed red. "Stop playing games, Marcus." We agreed. "The lot for the cars. It's already in motion." I met his eyes. "We never agreed to anything. You forged documents and listed property that doesn't belong to you. That's called fraud." The showroom went quiet. Even the other customers had stopped to listen. "I think perhaps we should continue this discussion in private," the salesman said nervously, gesturing toward an office. "There's nothing to discuss," I said. "Tyler isn't purchasing these cars. I'm not funding anything. I'm leaving now." I walked out into the Southern California sunshine, leaving Tyler sputtering behind me. My phone buzzed before I reached my car. Text from Tyler: "You're going to regret embarrassing me like that." I deleted it without responding. The truth was more complicated than the scene in the dealership suggested. Tyler hadn't just randomly decided to sell my property. He'd been planning it for months, ever since his father, my brother-in-law Robert, died, and left Tyler expecting a massive inheritance that didn't materialize. Robert had been wealthy on paper but cash poor in reality. His estate was mostly tied up in a business that was failing, debts that exceeded assets, and a Calabasas house that was underwater on its mortgage. After everything was settled, Tyler inherited about $40,000 and a 2018 BMW. He'd expected millions. He'd been counting on millions, and when the reality hit, he'd started looking at family assets he thought he could access. My beachfront lot was the obvious target. Robert had always told Tyler stories about the family property in Malibu, making it sound like communal wealth rather than my personal investment. Robert had never understood the distinction. Honestly, in his mind, if it was family, it was his. Tyler had inherited that attitude. 3 months ago, I'd gotten a call from a real estate agent named Valerie Stern. "Mr. Chen, I'm calling about your property at 17045 Pacific Coast Highway. I wanted to verify some details before we finalize the listing." "What listing?" "The listing your nephew initiated, Tyler Wade. He said he's handling the sale on your behalf while you're traveling abroad." "I'm not traveling abroad. I'm in my office in Pasadena, and I haven't authorized any sale." There was a long pause. "I see. Mr. Chen, Tyler provided documentation showing he has power of attorney for your affairs. He said you delegated property management to him while you focused on your medical practice." "I was a cardiologist, not that it mattered. I've never given Tyler power of attorney for anything." "What documentation did he provide?" "I have it here. A notarized power of attorney document dated 3 months ago. Signed by you and witnessed by." She stopped. "This is fraudulent, isn't it?" "Yes." "I'm so sorry, Mr. Chen. I'll cancel the listing immediately and report this to Don't Cancel It Yet," I said. "Leave it active. I want to see how far he takes this." Valerie was silent for a moment. "You want to catch him in the act." "Exactly." So the listing had stayed active, and Tyler had found a buyer. a tech entrepreneur named David Huang, who was paying cash, no contingencies. The sale was scheduled to close the following Friday. Tyler thought he was getting $2.4 million. He'd already spent it in his mind. Ferraris, a new condo in West Hollywood, a boat, a Rolex collection. He had no idea I'd been documenting everything. The day after the Ferrari dealership incident, I received a call from the Los Angeles County Recorder's Office. Mr. Chen, this is Linda Vasquez, from the Fraud Investigation Unit. We've been reviewing a property transfer for 17045 Pacific Coast Highway, and we've found some irregularities. What kind of irregularities? The deed shows you as the current owner, with the property held in the Marcus Chen Family Trust, established in 2011. However, we've received transfer documents signed by Tyler Wade, claiming authority as your attorney in fact. When we cross-referenced the power of attorney document, we found it was notarized by someone whose license was suspended 2 years ago. So it's definitely fraudulent, definitely. We're opening a formal investigation. I need to ask, are you aware of this attempted sale? I am. I've been monitoring it. Why didn't you report it immediately? Because Tyler is family, and I wanted to understand the full scope of what he was doing before I involved the authorities. Now I understand. Linda made a note. We'll need you to come in and provide a statement, and we'll be contacting Tyler Wade for questioning. This could result in criminal charges for fraud, forgery, and possibly identity theft. I understand. One more thing, the buyer David Huang. He's already wired his earnest money, $50,000. He thinks he's buying legitimate property. He is buying legitimate property. He's just buying it from a fraudulent seller. Right. We'll need to notify him before the closing. This is going to be complicated. The following Tuesday, I sat in a conference room at the county recorder's office with Linda Vasquez, 2 fraud investigators, named Detective Morrison, and Detective Park, and my attorney, Howard Feldman. Walk us through the timeline, Detective Morrison said. Opening his notebook, I did, starting with Robert's death, Tyler's disappointment with his inheritance, the first suspicious inquiry from Valerie Stern, and ending with the Ferrari dealership scene. Did Tyler ever directly ask you to sell the property? Detective Park asked. No, he avoided direct conversation about it. Everything was done through intermediaries, or forged documents. When I confronted him at the dealership, it was the first time he acknowledged what he was doing. Smart, Linda said. He was trying to maintain plausible deniability. If confronted early, he could claim it was all a misunderstanding. Howard leaned forward. What's the next step? We contact Tyler and request an interview, Detective Morrison said. We'll present the evidence, and see how he responds. If he admits to the forgery, we can potentially negotiate a resolution. If he denies it, or lawyers up immediately, we proceed with formal charges. And the buyer? I asked. We've already contacted Mr. Huang, and explained the situation. He's understandably upset, but he understands he's a victim here too. His earnest money will be returned, once we sort out the escrow issues. That afternoon, Tyler called me. His voice was tight with barely controlled anger. The county recorder called me, said there are questions about the Malibu property sale. I imagine there are. Marcus, what did you tell them? The truth, that you forged documents, and attempted to sell property you don't own. You bastard. You're really going to destroy me over this. You tried to steal $2.4 million from me to buy Ferraris. Tyler, what did you think would happen? That property should be mine. Dad always said it was family property. Your father said a lot of things. Doesn't make them true. The property is mine. It's in my trust. You have no claim to it. I'm family. You're just going to hoard wealth while I struggle. You're not struggling. You have a college degree, a job at your mother's company, and a condo in Pasadena that your mother bought you. You're just not wealthy enough to buy 3 Ferraris, and that's apparently intolerable to you. Tyler's voice dropped to something cold. You're going to regret this. Is that a threat? It's a promise. He hung up. The formal interview with Tyler happened on Thursday. I wasn't present, but Howard called me afterward to fill me in. He denied everything initially, said the power of attorney was legitimate, that you'd signed it when you were mentally impaired after a medical procedure, claimed he was protecting your interests. I haven't had a medical procedure in 3 years. The detective showed him the notary evidence, the suspended license, the timeline that doesn't match his story. He got quiet. Then he asked for a lawyer. So it's going to trial. Probably not. His lawyer will likely negotiate a plea. The evidence is overwhelming, and Tyler doesn't have the resources for a prolonged legal battle. Before we could discuss David Huang, my other line beeped. The number showed it was the title company handling the supposed closing. Howard, I need to take this. It's the title company. Call me back. I switched lines. Marcus Chen. Dr. Chen, this is Patricia Nolan, from Coastal Title and Escrow. I'm the closing officer assigned to the Pacific Coast Highway property transaction. We have a significant problem. I'm aware. The county recorder contacted me about the fraud investigation. Yes, well, Mr. Huang, the buyer is here at our office right now, demanding answers. He's threatening to sue everyone involved. Could you possibly come down here? I think hearing directly from you might help de-escalate the situation. I checked my watch, 2:15 p.m. I had a patient consultation at 4, but this couldn't wait. I'll be there in 30 minutes. The title company occupied a modern office building in Santa Monica. I found Patricia Nolan, waiting in the lobby, a woman in her 50s with steel gray hair and worry lines carved deep around her eyes. Dr. Chen, thank you for coming. She lowered her voice. Mr. Huang is very upset. He sold his condo in San Francisco to make this purchase. He's already relocated to Los Angeles for a new job. This has put him in a very difficult position. I understand, but he's not the only victim here. Of course not. I just wanted you to know the situation before you go in. She led me to a conference room where David Huang sat with his own lawyer, a sharp-looking woman in a black suit. Huang was younger than I expected, mid-30s, wearing a tech company hoodie and designer jeans. He looked exhausted. Mr. Huang, this is Dr. Marcus Chen, the actual property owner. Huang stood up, and I expected anger. Instead, he just looked defeated. Dr. Chen, I don't understand what happened. I did everything right. I hired a real estate agent. I did title searches. I verified the ownership records. They all showed the Marcus Chen family trust. How was I supposed to know the seller didn't have authority? You weren't, I said. Tyler forged very convincing documents. You're a victim of his fraud just as much as I am. But I've lost my earnest money. I've sold my condo. My new job starts in 2 weeks, and I have nowhere to live. Meanwhile, you still have your property. How am I the victim as much as you are? He had a point. I sat down across from him. You're right. This has impacted you more immediately and severely than me. I'm sorry you got caught up in Tyler's scheme. Is he your son, nephew, by marriage? And he just decided to sell your property without asking. He convinced himself it should belong to him. His father, my brother-in-law, apparently told him stories about family property and inheritance that weren't based in reality. When Tyler's father died, and left less than Tyler expected, he looked at my assets as a way to fill the gap. Huang's lawyer leaned forward. Dr. Chen, my client has significant damages here. Relocation costs, temporary housing, lost opportunities on other properties. The fraudulent seller is liable, but he's judgment-proof. No assets to collect from. You're the only party with resources. You're saying I should compensate your client for my nephew's crimes. I'm saying my client acted in good faith and deserves to be made whole. Patricia from the title company cleared her throat. Actually, our errors and omissions insurance should cover most of Mr. Huang's verified losses. We should have caught the fraudulent documentation during our title review. Most, Huang asked. What about the rest? There are coverage limits and deductibles, but we'll work with you to minimize your out-of-pocket costs. I watched Huang's shoulders sag with relief. The fight went out of him. I just wanted to buy a house, he said quietly. I've been saving for 8 years. This was supposed to be my dream property. Something shifted in my chest. This young man hadn't done anything wrong. He'd worked hard, saved carefully, and gotten burned by my nephew's greed and dishonesty. Mr. Huang, I said slowly, would you still want to buy the property? Legitimately, I mean, once this legal mess is sorted out. He looked up, surprised. Are you offering to sell it to me? I'm saying if you're still interested, we could discuss it. Not today. This needs to be resolved first. But in 6 months, a year, whenever you're ready, I'd be willing to sell to you at a fair price. Why? Because you were willing to pay Tyler's asking price, which means you see value in the property that I haven't been utilizing. And because you got hurt by my family's dysfunction. I can't undo that, but I can make sure it ends with you getting what you actually wanted. Huang's lawyer started to say something, but he held up his hand. Dr. Chen, I appreciate that. Really, let me think about it once everything settles down. Of course, Patricia has my contact information. We shook hands and some of the tension in the room dissipated. After they left, Patricia walked me to the lobby. That was generous of you. Maybe, or maybe I'm just tired of that lot being a symbol of family conflict. Selling it to someone who actually wants it might be the healthiest option. For what it's worth, our investigation showed Tyler was very thorough in his deception. He researched property law, found a notary whose license had been suspended, but whose stamp was still valid in databases. We created a paper trail that looked legitimate at first glance. This wasn't impulse, this was planned, which makes it worse. Much worse. The county attorney is taking this very seriously. I drove back to Pasadena thinking about Huang's face, the exhaustion, the disappointment, the violated trust. Tyler had done that, not to some abstract victim, but to a real person with real plans and real consequences. When I got home, there were 3 voicemails from Diane. Marcus, please call me. Tyler says the police are investigating him. This is getting out of hand. Marcus, answer your phone. We need to talk about this before it goes any further. Marcus, I'm begging you. He's my son. Please. I deleted all 3 without calling back. The next morning, Detective Morrison called. Dr. Chen, Tyler's lawyer has contacted us about a possible plea agreement. But before we proceed, I wanted to run something by you. Go ahead. Tyler's been doing some financial maneuvering we find concerning. He opened 3 new credit cards in the last 2 months, maxed them out immediately. He took out a personal loan, using fraudulent income documentation. He's racked up about $90,000 in new debt. Let me guess, he was planning to pay it all off with the property sale proceeds. Exactly. Which means when this sale fell through, he didn't just lose the Ferraris. He's now drowning in debt he can't pay. His lawyer is trying to use this as a sympathy angle, claimed Tyler was desperate, made poor decisions under financial stress. Is that supposed to make me feel sorry for him? No, I'm telling you because it suggests Tyler's problems go deeper than just this one fraud. We're concerned there might be other victims, other schemes. You think he's done this before? We're investigating. But yes, it's possible. The sophistication of the forgery, the careful planning, this doesn't feel like a first attempt. My stomach sank. What do you need from me? Permission to expand our investigation. Look at Tyler's financial history, his other transactions. It might mean this case takes longer to resolve, but if he's been defrauding others, we need to know. You have my permission. Do whatever you need to do. 3 weeks later, Detective Morrison called again. We found 2 other victims. A cousin on his mother's side. Tyler forged her signature on a home equity loan application 2 years ago. Got $25,000 before she noticed. She never reported it because it was family. And his ex-girlfriend, he opened credit cards in her name during their relationship. She reported it to the credit bureaus, but didn't pursue criminal charges. Jesus. The pattern is clear. Tyler views other people's assets as available to him if he needs them. The Malibu property was just the biggest target. What happens now? Both victims have agreed to provide statements. The county attorney is building a more comprehensive case. Instead of just attempted fraud on your property, Tyler's looking at multiple counts of identity theft, forgery, and fraud. This changes the plea negotiations significantly. Meaning jail time is back on the table. The investigation into Tyler's other frauds took 6 weeks. During that time, the family dynamics deteriorated further. Diane stopped calling me and started calling Stephen, demanding he convince me to stop this witch hunt. Tyler's cousin Amanda, the home equity loan victim, came forward publicly, which created a split in the extended family between those who believed Tyler needed accountability and those who thought we were all ganging up on him. The ex-girlfriend, Melissa Torres, was more pragmatic. She met with me at a coffee shop in Pasadena to discuss her experience. I dated Tyler for 2 years, she said, stirring sugar into her latte. He was charming at first, generous, attentive. Then I started noticing irregularities, credit card statements for cards I didn't remember opening, charges I didn't make. When I confronted him, he had elaborate explanations, clerical errors, identity theft by strangers, mistakes by the credit card companies. You didn't believe him. Not really, but I wanted to. That's the thing about Tyler. He's very good at making you want to believe him. When did you finally break up? When I found emails between him and a luxury car dealer, discussing payment plans for a Porsche he was buying with credit cards in my name, that was my line. I reported the fraud, froze my credit, and left. But I never pressed criminal charges, because his mother begged me not to. Diane paid you off. She paid off the debt, about $18,000, and asked me to let it go. Said Tyler was going through a hard time after his father's death, that he needed help not punishment. I agreed because I just wanted it over. And now I'm testifying, because clearly letting it go didn't help Tyler, it just taught him he could do it again. Her testimony, combined with Amanda's and the evidence from my case, painted a damning picture. Tyler wasn't a desperate man who made one mistake. He was a serial fraudster who targeted people who cared about him. When Howard called with the updated plea offer, the terms had changed dramatically. The county attorney is offering 18 months in county jail, 3 years probation, and full restitution to all victims, total of about $78,000. Tyler's lawyer is pushing back, wants probation only, but the attorney isn't budging. What happens if Tyler doesn't take it? Trial. Multiple felony counts. If convicted, he's looking at 3 to 5 years in state prison. Does Diane know? Tyler's lawyer has informed her. She's apparently trying to mortgage her house to pay a better attorney, but the attorney fees for a trial like this would be astronomical. What do you recommend? Take the plea. 18 months isn't nothing, but it's better than state prison. And Tyler needs to face real consequences or he'll never stop. I thought about Tyler at the Ferrari dealership, so confident, so entitled. About David Huang's exhausted face. About Melissa and Amanda, both manipulated and betrayed. Tell the county attorney I support the plea as offered. Tyler needs to serve time. The plea hearing was scheduled for a Tuesday morning in downtown Los Angeles. I took the day off from the hospital and sat in the courtroom gallery with Stephen and Amanda. Diane sat on the opposite side with Tyler's 2 sisters, all 3 women in black like they were attending a funeral. Maybe they were. Tyler entered in handcuffs, wearing an orange jumpsuit. He'd been in county jail for a week already. Bail had been set at $200,000, and Diane couldn't raise it. He looked thinner, paler, diminished. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s named Judge Catherine Morrison, reviewed the plea agreement carefully. Mr. Wade, you understand that by accepting this plea, you're admitting to 3 counts of fraud, 2 counts of forgery, and 2 counts of identity theft. Yes, Your Honor. And you understand that you'll serve 18 months in county jail, followed by 3 years of probation, during which you'll be subject to regular check-ins, financial monitoring, and restrictions on your activities. Yes, Your Honor. You'll also be required to pay restitution totaling $78,412 to your victims. Do you have the means to pay this? Tyler's lawyer stood. Your Honor, my client's mother has agreed to pay the restitution on his behalf. Judge Morrison looked at Diane. Mrs. Wade, is this accurate? Diane stood, her voice shaking. Yes, Your Honor, I'll pay whatever is required. Mrs. Wade, I want to be clear, this is not a payment plan you can default on. If you commit to this, you're legally obligated to fulfill it. Do you understand? I understand. Judge Morrison turned back to Tyler. Mr. Wade, before I accept this plea, I want to hear from you. Why did you do this? And I don't want excuses or justifications. I want the truth. Tyler was silent for a long moment. Then he said, I felt entitled to things I hadn't earned. My father raised me to believe I was special, that I deserved wealth and luxury because of who I was, not because of what I'd accomplished. When he died, and I realized his promises were empty, I looked for other ways to get what I thought I deserved. I targeted people who trusted me because they were the easiest targets. I didn't care about the damage I caused, because I only cared about myself. It was the most honest thing I'd ever heard him say. Judge Morrison nodded slowly. That's a start. Now let me tell you what I see. I see a pattern of behavior that spans years. I see victims who trusted you, family members, romantic partners, people who should have been able to rely on you. I see someone who has never faced meaningful consequences for his actions, which is why the pattern continued and escalated. This plea agreement is your last chance to change that pattern. If you violate probation, if you commit another fraud, if you show me that you haven't learned from this, I will personally ensure you serve the maximum sentence allowed by law. Do you understand me? Yes, Your Honor. Then I accept your plea. 18 months county jail, credit for time served. 3 years probation, restitution as specified. Bailiff, remand the defendant. Tyler was led away. Diane collapsed into her seat, sobbing. Her daughters tried to comfort her, but she was inconsolable. I felt nothing, no satisfaction, no triumph, no relief, just a hollow acknowledgement that this was necessary. In the hallway afterward, Diane approached me, her eyes were red, her makeup ruined. I hope you're happy, she said. I'm not. You got what you wanted, my son in jail. I wanted Tyler to face consequences for his crimes. This isn't about what I want, it's about what he did. He's not a criminal, he's a confused young man who made mistakes. He's 29 years old, Diane. He's not young, and these weren't mistakes, they were calculated, premeditated frauds. Multiple victims over multiple years. You could have stopped this, you could have dropped the charges. And what would that have taught him? That he can steal from people and his family will always bail him out. That there are no real consequences for his actions. He's my son, and he's a criminal. Both things can be true. Diane slapped me, hard, across the face. The hallway went silent. Amanda gasped. Stephen stepped between us. Diane, that's enough, Stephen said. You're all against him, Diane said, her voice breaking. All of you, you've destroyed him. He destroyed himself, I said quietly, rubbing my cheek. We just refused to pretend otherwise. Diane left with her daughters supporting her on either side. Amanda touched my arm. Are you okay? I'm fine, she's grieving. That doesn't give her the right to hit you. No, but I understand it. Later that week I got a call from David Huang. Dr. Chen, I've been thinking about your offer, about the property. And, I'd like to move forward. Not immediately, I need to get settled in my new job, save up again, but in about a year, if you're still willing to sell, I'm interested. At what price? Whatever a fair market appraisal says. I don't want any deals or discounts because of what happened. I want a clean transaction. That's very principled of you. I just want to buy a house I love, without any complications or bad history attached. I respect that. Call me in a year. I will. And Dr. Chen, thank you for being reasonable about all this. You were the victim of my nephew's crimes. Being reasonable is the least I can do. The family meeting happened at Diane's house in Calabasas on a Sunday afternoon. Everyone was there. Diane, her two daughters, my brother Stephen, and his wife Tyler, Tyler's lawyer, Howard, and me. Diane had set out coffee and pastries like this was a social occasion. Nobody touched them. Tyler sat at the dining table, his lawyer beside him, looking like a man facing execution. He'd lost weight. His usual arrogance had been replaced with something sullen and defeated. After the formal admission and the painful confrontation with Diane, Tyler left without saying goodbye. The family fractured that day, in ways that would never fully heal. Tyler completed his probation successfully. He paid the restitution in installments over 18 months. He got a job at a different company. Diane had finally stopped enabling him by forcing him to leave her firm. According to Stephen, who maintained relationships with everyone, Tyler lives in a studio apartment in Glendale, now, and drives a 10-year-old Honda. The Ferraris remain a fantasy. The Malibu property remains mine. I've thought about selling it, actually. David Huang contacted me again 6 months ago with a serious offer, but every time I consider it, I think about Tyler's assumption that I wouldn't notice or care if it disappeared. The lot isn't just property to me, it's a reminder that boundaries matter, that family doesn't mean unlimited access to your resources, that protecting what's yours isn't selfish, it's necessary. Last month, I went to the lot for the first time in over a year, just parked on Pacific Coast Highway, and walked the property line. The ocean was gray-blue, under an overcast sky. Surfers bobbed in the water. A family flew a kite further down the beach. I thought about building something there eventually. A small house, maybe, nothing ostentatious, just a place to watch the sunset and listen to the waves. Or maybe I'd donate it to a conservation trust, keep it undeveloped forever, a thumb in the eye to Tyler's materialism. Or maybe I'd sell it to David Huang, and use the money for something meaningful. Medical mission work, scholarship fund. Something that actually helps people instead of just sitting there proving a point. The truth is, I haven't decided. And that's the real luxury, having time to choose, without pressure, without someone trying to steal the choice from me. My phone rang. Stephen, hey stranger, how are you? I'm at the Malibu lot, I said, just thinking about Tyler. The whole situation, whether I was too hard on him. Stephen was quiet for a moment. Do you think you were? Sometimes. But then I remember he wasn't just trying to take money, he was trying to erase my autonomy, make decisions about my property without my input. That's not just theft, it's a fundamental disrespect For what it's worth, I think you did the right thing. Tyler needed consequences. Our whole family has been too soft on him his whole life. How is he? Better, actually. More grounded. He's dating someone who works in nonprofit management. She's apparently very down to earth, keeps him in check. He's been volunteering at a food bank on weekends. Really, really. The probation required community service, and apparently he actually started enjoying it. Still doesn't talk to you or Diane much, but he's becoming a more functional human being. That's good to hear. You know what's ironic? Steven said. The whole Ferrari thing. Tyler was chasing his father's dream, not his own. Robert was obsessed with luxury cars. Tyler just inherited the obsession without understanding why it mattered to his dad. And now he drives a beat-up Civic, and seems happier than when he was planning to own a 488 Spider. Funny how that works. After we hung up, I sat on the hood of my car and watched the sun start its descent toward the horizon. The beachfront lot stretched out beside me, empty and full of potential. A land trust protects property from being sold or seized. It creates boundaries that even family can't cross, but it doesn't protect you from loneliness, from broken relationships, from the cost of standing firm. I'd paid that cost, was still paying it, probably would be for years, but I'd also protected something important, not just property, but principle. The idea that people don't have the right to take what isn't theirs, even if they're family, especially if they're family. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. This is Tyler. I know we haven't talked, but I wanted to say I'm sorry, really sorry. Not because my lawyer told me to, or because of probation. Because I finally understand what I did to you. You didn't deserve it. I hope someday you can forgive me. I stared at the text for a long time. Then I typed, I appreciate you saying that. It means something. Not forgiveness, not reconciliation, just acknowledgement. Maybe that was enough for now. The sun touched the horizon, turning the ocean gold. I took a picture, not of the property, but of the light on the water, something beautiful that couldn't be owned or sold or stolen. Just experienced, just appreciated, just protected when necessary. I drove home as darkness fell over the Pacific, the land trust certificate safe in my filing cabinet, the lot still empty and still mine, and 3 Ferraris that would never be ordered sitting permanently in Tyler's past where they belonged. Some dreams deserve to die, some boundaries deserve to hold, some property deserves protection. This was all 3. The county recorder had found the original owner. The fraud investigators had done their job. The family had fractured, and maybe started healing. And the beachfront lot remained exactly where it had always been, on the edge of the continent, holding its ground against the waves, unchanged and unclaimed by anyone who didn't have the right to claim it, exactly as it should be.